And in this discussion, we wanted to bring together many partners that are very familiar to all of you, and also some new partners to help us look ahead at the shape of the partnership and where we'll be going together. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce to you many people you know well, including Marie Ba, the director of the Ouagadougou Partnership Coordination Unit, Helga Fogstad, the Executive Director of the Partnership for Maternal, Newborn, and Child Health, and an FP 2020 Reference Group member, Joshua Tabah, Director General for Global Health at Global Affairs Canada, also an FP 2020 Reference Group member, Dr. Sonja Caffe, Regional Adolescent Health Advisor for the Pan American Health Organization, and finally, Dr. Natasha Kaoma, Chief Executive Officer of Copper Rose Zambia, and also an FP 2020 Reference Group member. So thank you all for joining us here today. And again, the purpose of this panel is really to share together both what FP 2020 has meant, but more importantly, to look to the future, to the next iteration of the partnership, and to envision how we'll be able to make progress, or we believe we will make progress on the issues that are critical to the work that you're all doing. So let's start with Marie. Many of you are aware that the Ouagadougou Partnership was launched in 2011. We talk about the sisterhood between the Ouagadougou Partnership and FP 2020 and now FP 2030, and how the Ouagadougou Partnership has really paved the way in West Africa and helped to shape some of the thinking around FP 2020 when we were originally launched. So we'd love to hear your perspectives, Marie, on how our partnership has worked together to advance the objectives in the region in which you focus.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Beth, and hi, everyone. First off, our more sincere thanks for giving the OPCU a chance to share with this broad audience about our experience in collaboration. And most of all, congratulations on officially launching FP 2030. To answer your first question, I think most already know that throughout the years, the OP countries have been privileged enough to take advantage of both our initiatives, making it a unique region in that position. So there's pride and excitement from our focal points that we've heard of being part of a global movement and being able to exchange with other Francophone countries within the movement, but also a wider range of countries and different contexts, for example. So they've been able to take advantage of 2 secretariats, not just one, working together on coordination, on exchanges and learning, on increasing exposure and visibility, especially for civil society, who've been asking for it for a long time. So the collaboration between the 2 partnerships have helped multiply our resources. We both have funds that are available to our focal points in our countries. It's helped expand both of our networks, and it's also helped deepen the relationships in countries, and for us, the OPCU, for example, open up new doors and help us work with some of the global partners out there.
Great, thank you, Marie. So the OP is focused on 9 Francophone countries. PMNCH is focused on all of us, every place around the world, with a real look at maternal health as well, but increasingly working on sexual and reproductive health and rights as well. Helga, I'd like to turn to you next and to talk, we through the partnership with PMNCH, we expanded our own portfolio on postpartum and post-abortion family planning. We built stronger relationships with midwives and OBGYN organizations and included maternal health advocates and experts on the reference group such as yourself. So I'd just love to hear your perspectives on how the partnerships have worked together and what opportunities you see going forward.
Thank you for that, Beth, and congratulations on FP 2020's transformation to FP 2030. As Executive Director of PMNCA, representing over 1,000 partner organizations and multiple constituencies, I would like to acknowledge PMNCH's longing, continuing commitment to supporting family planning and SRHR. We have enjoyed very much the collaboration that we've had with FP 2020. Which has made tremendous progress since its inception in 2012 at the London Summit on Family Planning, not only generating country commitments and billions of dollars in funding, but also forging links with the maternal health community and healthcare providers, notably midwives, to help integrate family planning with the continuum of care for women, adolescents, and newborns. So integrating services has been proven to be cost effective and smart. And this is something that you've really looked at seriously. So including also advocates has helped amplify family planning, FP 2020 investment case. This has facilitated diverse partners to make the case for family planning as a best buy, which is also critical for our collective advocacy effort. So one of FP 2020's strengths is the use of data to measure aspects of the environment for family planning, the process of delivering services, the impact of contraceptive use, and the rate of return for every country to globally and national level advocacy efforts is of vital importance. So in July 2020, PMNCH and its partners issued a 7-point call to action in response to the devastating effects of COVID-19 on the health and well-being of women, children, and adolescents. It calls on leaders to protect and prioritize their rights and health during COVID-19 response and recovery, for strengthening political commitment and political policies and financing for vital health services, including for family planning information, services, and supplies, particularly for the most vulnerable. This call for action builds on our new 5-year strategy, which similarly prioritizes comprehensive and high-quality sexual and reproductive health services. FP 2030 has a key role in mobilizing for these commitments, which FP 2020 has definitely paved the way for. Thank you.
Thank you, Helga. You have our commitment that we will be a sort of a full court press, if you will, on commitments throughout 2021. It's a year of transformation for us. It's a year for everybody to explore together what the true impact of COVID has been and to recalibrate ambitions based on the reality of services and financing in each country. But also we want to lean in with you and with the Ouagadougou Partnership on advocacy at every level. We'll continue at high-level advocacy, but I do think this new approach that we all believe we need to take to better funding for advocates in countries, to ensuring that young people are equal participants in all places where SRHR and family planning are being discussed. There's opportunity for so much common cause here as we all look toward improving, the opportunities for well-being for women and girls, because as I believe it was Mitchell Warren said earlier, it's one body. We don't need different advocates sort of fighting for different priorities and different channels. We need to come together for women and girls, and I believe that we can. So next, I'm pleased to turn to Joshua to share with us a little bit more about Canada's feminist foreign policy and your investment in sexual and reproductive health and rights and in family planning. I know that perspective has really been inspiring and helped others to imagine how governments can rethink their approach to women, to development, and to overall well-being. So Joshua, over to you.
Thanks, Beth, and congratulations on this big step. It's been quite a journey. Canada announced its support for FP 2020 when we made our first significant commitment to comprehensive SRHR in March 2017. And right away, we then co-organized the high-level family planning summit that summer to spur global action to help meet FP 2020's goals and to advance the 2030 agenda. And this involvement has driven our focus on contraceptives and family planning as a priority component of ensuring access to comprehensive SRHR. Since 2017, we've increased dedicated funding while also leveraging our engagement in global health platforms to champion the importance of family planning, access to modern contraceptives, and SRHR more generally. We've deepened our engagement with the Ouagadougou Partnership and the She Decides movement, and we've increased collaboration with many of the partners we've discussed today, UNFPA Supplies, MSI, IPPF, many others, including to mitigate the impacts of the pandemic over the last 10 months. So for us, like Helga, the partnership's commitment to data has really been critical. It helps inform our increased investments in this space. And compelling data, like those we've discussed today, really help us better tell the story of why family planning is so important, why all countries must be involved. And Canada does frame its international assistance now through a feminist lens. So we view access to services and the realization of rights, including for family planning specifically, as critical for advancing gender equality and the empowerment of women and adolescent girls, and dependent on those as well. As women and girls continue to be subject to multiple and intersecting forms of discrimination, we're committed to addressing how to dismantle these barriers to ensure access and to explore how everyone has a role to play in the creation of standards at both the global and national levels. Those national standards protect, respect, and fulfill the sexual and reproductive rights of all women and girls. So through our engagement with the FP movement, we'll continue to encourage feminist analysis that addresses intersectional power dynamics, working together to build connections between like-minded partners and those unable to take a vocal stance. Together, we can increase these voices at these tables and in these conversations with the goal of ensuring that all women and girls can decide for themselves whether, when, and with whom to have children, taking control of their bodies, their lives, and their futures. Our longstanding relationship with the FP partnership has been and will continue to be a core part of this. I applaud the partnership's decentralization, putting more resources and control into regions. Anchoring the partnership in the countries it serves will help to better identify needs, strengthen accountability, deliver results in overcoming barriers and increasing access and autonomy. It's an exciting time for the partnership. We're thrilled to be playing a role in it. Thanks, Beth.
Thank you, Joshua. We're thrilled to have you be a part of the partnership as well, and we look forward to exploring together how we can expand that partnership for FP 2030. I think the points you made around the feminist foreign policy are particularly important and show how there can be normative changes at all levels of global development, and having Canada help to lead the way, as I said before, and reimagining that is really important. We're reimagining as well the shape of the overall partnership. As we said earlier, we'll move under FP 2030 from having 69 focus countries to welcoming any country who wishes to make a commitment. We'll have a tailored and sort of a bespoke approach, if you will, to each of those countries based on their own development path. But one of the areas that we're particularly pleased to be moving into is a deeper relationship with the Latin America and the Caribbean region. Under FP 2020, 69 focus countries, 4 countries in that region were included, but only one made a commitment, and that was Haiti. We realize there's so much work to do and so many opportunities for advocacy at every level with Latin American partners. And so, Sonja, welcome, and thank you for joining us today. I'd love to hear your perspectives on the opportunities ahead for partnership with the Latin American and Caribbean region. You may be on mute.
So sorry. Yes, thank you so much. It is a pleasure and a privilege to be part of this panel. And of course, I'm joining my congratulations to FP 2020, making the transition to FP 2030. And we welcome you very much to the region. It is, of course, FP 2020 is not an unknown in our region. We have always appreciated and I know that many partners and professionals in our region have benefited from your capacity building activities, your documents, and as PAHO, of course, we are the regional organization for the World Health Organization. And so since WHO is a commitment organization, we are also committed to the same targets as you. We share a lot of priorities in our region, in Latin America and the Caribbean. We have unfinished agendas when it comes to maternal health, adolescent pregnancy, access to sexual and reproductive health services. And so it is for us a continuing priority, and that's why I'm saying we do welcome you to our region, because together, I am sure we can achieve much more. We have a lot of partners that we already work with. As PAHO, we work very closely with our sister organization, with UNFPA, with UNICEF. Very important actors in Latin America and the Caribbean are the sub-regional integration mechanisms, and of course, our member states. We can also say that we have seen some progress. For instance, in the reduction of adolescent pregnancy, some countries have made progress in recent years. We also have made progress when it comes to reduction of maternal mortality. However, Our progress is fragile, very dependent on continued political support and availability of the resources necessary to continue the work. And so your contribution when it comes to capacity building, when it comes to advocacy, are very welcome and very timely in our region, especially when we consider that COVID-19 is a threat to our progress. We are still yet to fully understand the impact that COVID-19 will have. And so all hands on board, on deck, as we say. And we welcome you, and we look forward to collaborate with you, to partner with you for the good of all the women, children, and adolescents in our region.
Thank you, Sonja. All hands indeed. And, you know, as we're thinking about COVID-19, the Latin America region also had to work through the Zika crisis as well. So you have many experiences the rest of the world can also learn from, including long-standing family planning programs and the advocacy that's still outstanding. There's so much more work to do on adolescent pregnancy, as you mentioned, and in reaching Indigenous populations. I do think that common cause and the sharing of advocacy approaches, data, accountability, all of that can help to strengthen the partnerships that are there and also allow all of us to learn from the successes of your region as well. So thank you very much for joining the panel and encouraging this kind of expansion over time. I want to turn now to Natasha. Natasha, you've been on the reference group for a little over a year now, maybe close to 2 years, and you come at a bit of a disadvantage in this event today because we've heard from a number of other young people about engagement with young people. It's very clear we've started, but we're not there. I'd love to hear your perspectives on what your engagement has meant, but also what it's meant in Zambia and the kinds of leadership there that are really transforming the dynamics within your country when it comes to SRHR. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Beth. I'd like to thank FP 2030 now for this opportunity, and congratulations to you. When I think about meaningful youth engagement, I would like to think about my experience within the reference group. First of all, FP 2020 has involved young people into many different aspects of the work. First of all, it was through the focal point systems. The focal point systems allowing young people to join did come close to the end of the partnership, but they were beneficial and they have been beneficial because they say better late than never. But I would like to give examples of tangible ways in which these systems do help integrate young people into decision making. In Zambia, for example, in 2020, we were developing the country implementation plan. And because of the focal point systems, young people like me and many other groups were involved in this process and have been able to give our voice, but also to lead some of the sessions. I was leading the adolescent and youth component and leading focus group discussions. And those are opportunities for leadership, which would not have been possible without this focal point mechanism. I'd also like to say that meaningful youth engagement to me also means factoring in the time that young people are spending on the work. And FP 2020 has or did factor in time that young people were spending through things like honorariums, through youth engagement grants, but I would like to see a lot more of such things going further into FP 2030. The importance of factoring in the time that young people are spending gives value to what they're contributing, because for a lot of young people, this is not their full-time job. They also need to earn an income, whereas for most other people that are playing a role in these spaces will have a car drive them from one meeting to the other, but young people will still need support to get to the same meeting that is being supported. When I think about FP 2030, I'd like to say that it would be great to see that the meaningful youth engagement is strengthened, and some of the ways I'm thinking about it is engaging young people at all levels. There are structures that have been proposed, and I would like to see more young people at every single step, or at every step that's possible, especially all the way through to the governing body, and not just leaving young people to the champions group or to other smaller groupings, which I think have less of a voice or have less power in decision making. I'd also like to see young people being hired to work at some of these hubs. Because we often think of young people as beneficiaries, we think of young people as only advocates, but we do have young professionals who would play a huge role in ensuring that there's more meaningful engagement, because you may need these people in-house to be able to guide and to be able to direct some of the best practices for engagement. So those are some of the ways that I would like to see meaningful youth engagement.
Great. Thank you, Natasha. I think you yourself are an incredible representative of the potential here. You're a medical doctor. You're a CEO of your own NGO. You participate in global processes, and you're helping to drive local change within your own country. I don't think we need a more compelling advertisement than for what we're missing out if we're not actually working with young people. So thank you for continuing to make that push on all of us. And I just want to reassure you that we absolutely have the intention of having at least 2 among the seats on the governing board reserved for young people, and will continue to ensure that young people are part of the focal point processes that really just reflect the technical working groups in countries, but making sure that we're not disadvantaging in that work going forward. And I hear your call loud and clear that these are professional relationships, and they need to be treated as such, not as a voluntary, not as some sort of a gift that we're giving to young people to let them in, but rather we need to step back and learn from young people and make sure that they're leading the processes, in control of decision making themselves, because it's not about me. I'm in my 50s. I have what I need. But there are many, many young people around the world's largest population of young people, and we have to be focusing on that. I believe that's been heard loud and clear. Now it's about really making sure that we make those changes. So you have my commitment that we'll be doing that to the extent that we can while I'm still with FP 2020, but I know FP 2030 is committed to that as well. So Maria, I'd like to go back to you just to make sure that we talk a little bit about these hubs, as Natasha mentioned. We will be having a hub in West and Central Africa, and I am excited that we will be hiring from people, or among people from those regions, so they will be staffed by people from, in this case, West and Central Africa. And we'll be looking for an opportunity to be working closely with the OPCU as well. So I'm wondering how you imagine that relationship might look when we have more of a physical presence, and what opportunities you see on the horizon for that.
Right. And I think given that new structure for FP 2030 is an opportunity for both our initiatives, and the fact that the OP has increased aspirations in the region. As you know, we have a new and ambitious goal of reaching 13 million women and girls as new users of modern contraceptive methods. So we within the OPCU and the OP obviously are committed to working more closely and in synergy with a regionally based hub, and making ourselves, both the Secretariat and the countries, available for the new FP 2030 West and Central Africa regional hub. So supporting its transfer, but also strengthening and anchoring the local and regional connections that we already have in the region. I think it's also a way of avoiding, for example, duplicating efforts, and making sure that we are using our comparative advantages and strength to improve the lives and health of young women and girls. I also think, given the specificities of some of the OP countries, we can pay special attention to data as regards to OP countries and how that data can inform advocacy and policymakers. Data is obviously a strong suit for the FP 2020, and that is something that the OP and OPC are looking forward to working more closely. And I've heard, for example, our last colleague talking about the significant involvement of youth. We've been trying to do that more and more within the OP and the OPCU, and I think this new focal point structure where we included youth, and we worked closely together, the OPCU and the FP 2020 Secretariat, to actually choose those focal points, was one example where I think collaboration went great, and just working more closely and seeing how we can improve the significant involvement of youth in both our initiatives, but also within the movement, and giving them more voices. And like I said, not just as interns or as focal points, but also having a more prominent role in the initiatives, the structures, and also implementing some of the programs that the partners have in place.
Great. Thank you, Marie. One of the things I really enjoyed about our partnership as well was when we had a Francophone focal point workshop, we brought together the 9 OP countries, but also many other Francophone countries from Madagascar to Haiti. And it really was a great opportunity to work and learn together. We won't be working by linguistic breakup anymore, but we hope that we'll be able to bring together, Anglophone partners in the region as well with OP. And I just want to make a quick comment as well and give an apology to many of our listeners today. We were able to provide French translation, but not Lusophone or Russian or Spanish. And so we hope that we'll have the funding to be more inclusive going forward in the next iteration of the partnership. But just wanted to acknowledge the many partners around the world who are listening and the opportunities to work together. So we have about 5 minutes left on this panel. So Helga, quickly, I wanted to get your perspectives on your expansion to SRHR and particularly to person-centered care, because we know that that's been a big turning point for PMNCH in recent years as well. Can you share a bit about that perspective as well going forward?
Yeah, thank you for that. So the broader SRHR movement requires the integration of sexual reproductive health services within the primary healthcare system, including family planning services, STI screening, pregnancy care, prevention, and management of gender-based violence. Integration should also include information, commodities, and support for self-care, including self-administrated methods of contraception, as well as comprehensive sexuality education. So it's something about bringing these sectors and also services and the continuum in the age groups logically together so that it makes sense to the woman and to the child and to the adolescent in some way, so that it becomes a really people-centric in that it's not only cost-effective, but it's cost-effective because it's very convenient. And people then understand what the value is to their own health and so forth. So I think in some ways that is really important to focus on the benefits of bringing sectors, constituencies, stakeholders, and also sectors together in order to create a win-win situation.
I agree, and I look forward to our new hubs being able to do that in a country, in a regional way, in a way that the Ouagadougou Partnership's been able to explore and be able to do that in countries around the world. So we only have a little over a minute left, so with apologies to Joshua and Sonja for not going back to you, but I want to give Natasha the last word and invite you to just share your perspectives on all of this, on the FP 2030 partnership as well, and where you really want to see us going forward.
Thanks so much, Beth. I'd like to say that one thing that has been really on my mind is that I think that the family planning movement needs to think about programming as well. There's a lot of money that is being targeted towards advocacy, coordination, and data. But from my perspective, from my part of the world, that's not enough, because advocacy is more potent when coupled with service provision, when coupled with services. And some of our governments feel like advocacy is merely finger pointing, and that's what we are known for as advocates. I'd like to see a situation in which we are also mobilizing resources for actual service provision or for actual support or supplementation of the government efforts as far as service provision is concerned. I think that's one of the ways we will get some of the figures or some of the data, like the unmet need that has been at 20-something for the last 10 or 15 years. That's the missing piece, I would say. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Natasha. As always, I've loved working with you and learning from you. It's been a terrific partnership, and I want to thank everybody. Marie, Helga, Sonja, Joshua, Natasha, thank you for helping us to sort of push into 2030 and to launch this new partnership. There will be so many opportunities across 2021 to build this together, and I look forward to working with all of you. So thank you for your time today and your partnership in the past and going forward.